Hare Krishna. So, welcome everybody to our Sunday program. See a lot of new faces today. It's the start of the new academic year, so most of you have come here to begin your courses. So, just as material education is very important for our life, similarly, spiritual education is also very important. Material education nourishes our material life. A spiritual education nourishes our spiritual life. And Srila Prabhupada says in Srimad Bhagavatam, spiritual advancement is followed by material advancement. So, when we are spiritually enlivened, even the material life also falls into place. So, we need to make wise choices in our life. So, we need to put spiritual life at the forefront so that our material life also is properly aligned. So today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we will take a verse, we will discuss about the verse, we will discuss about Krishna, and we will see how we can apply the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in our own lives. So we will be distributing a few copies of Bhagavad Gita, so if you can each have a copy, it would be very nice. So today we will be reading from Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Whoever has got the copies. Today we'll be reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. I will be reading from chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita, where the chapter is entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, and we will be reading the 14th verse. So it's page number 381 in my book at least. So it's 7th chapter and 14th verse. It's a well-known verse and very important as well. Hope everyone got the verse. 7:14. Alright. It's the one which is on the right side page below the text. So first we'll recite each and every word, and then we'll recite the whole verse. Okay? So you all can repeat after me. Daivi Hi Esha Guna Maye Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Taranti Te. So now we'll be reciting the whole sentence. So please follow along. Daivihyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metantharantite. Daivihyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metantharantite. Daivihyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metantharantite. Would anyone like to recite?
Daivesha Gunamayi
Daivesha Gunamayi
Mama Maya Duratyaya
Mama Maya Duratyaya
Mama Ye Prapadyante
Maya Ye Prapadyante
Metam Tarantite
Maya Metam Tarantite. Daivesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Duratyaya Mameve Prapadyante Mayamitam Tarantite.
Daivesha Gunamayi
Daivesha Gunamayi
Mama Maya Duratyaya
Mama Maya Duratyaya
Mama Evaya Prapadyante
Mamevaya Prapadyante
Mayamitam Tarantite
Mayamitam Tarantite.
Daivesha Gunamayi
Daivesha Gunamayi
Mama Maya Duratyaya
Mama Maya Duratyaya Mamevaya Prapadyante
Mayamitam Tarantite
Mayamitam Tarantite. Okay, so we'll go through the word-to-word translations, which is the next page. Okay, please repeat after me. Daivi, transcendental. He, certainly. Esha, this. Gunamayi, consisting of the three modes of material nature. Mama, my. Maya, energy. Duratyaya, very difficult to overcome. Mam, unto me. Eva, certainly. Ye, those who. Prapadyante, surrender. Mayam etam, the illusory energy. Taranti, overcome. They. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Please repeat after me. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Perfect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of these energies, and therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the Supreme Will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined here as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being connected by divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows: Maya tu prakritim vidyan, Mayanam tu Maheshwaram. Although Maya, illusion, is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the Supreme Magician, the Personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, or the Supreme Controller. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 4:10. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that a conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be held by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being Lord of the illusory energy, can order his insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity, who is originally beloved Son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The words Mam Eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajoguna, passion, and Tamoguna, ignorance, to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, the influence of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas, the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.8, confirm this in the phrase Tam eva viditva, or freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnureva na samshaya. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. Okay. I'll recite a few mantras for purification, then we'll discuss this verse. Om Adhyana Vedanta Syadnatana Shlakta Chakramilitam Vena Tasmai Shri Namaha Shri Chaitanya Krishna Sthapitam Vena Bhutale Swayam Rupadamakyam Tadati Svadantikam Adeham Shri Guru Shri Tattalimanam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Savarajam Savaranakanam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savasutam Parijana Setam Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Param Sahagadadita Shri Vishakhamita Shri Krishna Kathasim Bhoti Gopesh Gopika Pantaradha Pantaramaskate Tattakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindaveshwar Vrishabhadaste Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripasindubhya Eva Chakaritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-Vikasa Swami Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharne Vishesha Shanyavani Aschatya Deshatarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is. So many of you might have heard Bhagavad Gita. It's a famous literature, and it is recorded that it is the most sold religious literature in the world. There's no book as popular as Bhagavad Gita. The number of copies distributed throughout the world, it's a lot actually. The number of copies of Bhagavad Gita which are distributed, because devotees are constantly distributing it. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that whoever distributes this knowledge given by Krishna becomes very dear to Krishna. So devotees are very much engaged in distributing this literature. So this is one of the most popular literatures, and especially popular in India and those coming from Hindu families. So what is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is nothing but song of God. Bhagavad means, or Bhagavan means God, and Gita means song. So here the hero or the main character in Bhagavad Gita is a personality called Krishna, who is described as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you see, this book is called Bhagavad Gita. So if you see the translation of the word Bhagavan, it is translated as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna or God is a person. God is not some impersonal object or some kind of light or something like that. God is a person. And just as we are all person, God is also a person. But there is a difference there. So we can't say just because we are a person, God is also a person, so there is no difference between us and God. We are also a person, but God is the Supreme Person. Therefore, He is described as the Supreme Personality. And here we see God or Krishna, we call Krishna, God as Krishna. God has innumerable names. But one of the names of God is Krishna, because God is very attractive by nature. So the word Krishna means most attractive. So we are all attractive to some extent, but God is the ultimate object of attraction. So that's why God is called Krishna primarily. And a person can be described as attractive based on certain characteristics or certain features. So in the Vedic literature, there is this description that there are 6 characteristics, and whoever possesses them in complete is called Bhagavan. So here we see Bhagavad Gita means it's coming from the word Bhagavan. So here the word Bhagavan means this can also be split into 2. Bhava means opulence, and Van means who possesses those opulences. So Bhagavan means one who possesses these 6 opulences, and the song of Bhagavan is called Bhagavad Gita, right? So what are these 6 opulences possessed by God, Nikunj? Fame. Okay, one of them is fame. Can anyone say one?
Beauty.
Beauty. Thank you.
Strength.
Strength.
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
Wealth.
Wealth. And last one. I hear some voice from this downstairs. Renunciation. Yeah, thank you. So there are 6 opulences. So which are namely strength, beauty, knowledge, and fame, and did I miss anything? Wealth, and then renunciation. So any person who possesses them is attractive by nature. Just imagine, we are so many people here. So a person who is very intelligent is certainly very attractive. People become attracted to that person. Or if a person is very rich, certainly people become attractive to such person. Long back ago, maybe during the days when I was using Facebook very regularly, I saw a quote like, a person is only valued unless he is beautiful, rich, or dead. No one cares for a person unless a person is either beautiful or rich or dead. So we can see even in that caption, those who wrote it, they identified the 2 opulences. Unless no one recognizes you unless you're rich or beautiful. So, but in total there are 6 opulences. So we as individuals, we are all parts and parcels of God. So we possess the same qualities that of God. So because we are parts and parcels, and because we are sons of God, we also possess the same qualities like that of God. So God possesses, or Krishna possesses, or Bhagavan possesses unlimited qualities. We cannot subjugate, or we cannot limit God to only 6 qualities. These are just condensed. The unlimited qualities of God are just condensed for our understanding, but God has unlimited qualities. So if we see because we by nature are qualitatively one with God, we also possess the same qualities, not of God, but the only difference between us and God is that it's the quantity in which we possess these qualities. So we, by nature, everyone is to some extent beautiful, everyone is to some extent rich, everyone possesses some knowledge, everyone possesses some strength, some renunciation, some wealth. But no one can claim that I possess all the wealth of the world. Not even the richest people in the world, they can't say that I possess all the wealth. Well, they've got wealth, comparatively more than others, but they can't just say that they possess all the wealth in the world. Nor can any person say that, I'm all powerful. There are so many conflicts happening all over the world, just to establish their power, that they are very powerful and they are trying to capture other countries to show their power. But even in those attempts, they are failing to prove to the world that they're most powerful. So in this way, we also possess all these qualities to some extent. But we cannot claim that we possess all these qualities to the complete extent. There's only one person who can possess all these qualities in fullest extent, and that person we call him as Bhagavan or God. So here, when Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, he displayed, when he appeared on this material world 5,000 years ago in India, he displayed all the six opulences to his fullest extent. Therefore, he was accepted as God, not by ordinary men, but even by the greatest authorities of India, or the greatest saintly persons or religious persons, and even demigods and other celestial sages. We see in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita where, Arjuna, to whom this Bhagavad Gita was spoken, he himself admits that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he doesn't just say that he's admitting that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead because Krishna is his friend, but he says that this has been confirmed by and reassured by great authorities also. And so this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So now you know what is the Bhagavad Gita, who spoke Bhagavad Gita. So this Bhagavad Gita, as you see on the cover page of this book, was spoken on a battlefield. So there was a great war happening between two parties to establish religious principles. And God also, Krishna also participated in the war, but he did not fight the war, but he took the position of a chariot driver. So here we see in the cover picture, we see two personalities, one riding the chariot and one one with a bow and arrow. He is behind the charioteer, he is fighting the war. So here the person behind is Arjuna, and the person who is driving the chariot is Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So God, nothing is impossible for the God. Why a war? A God can himself establish the principles of religion. There was no necessity of the war, but God wants to give credit to his devotees. So therefore he engaged his devotees, like here Arjuna, in fighting the war, so that the devotees are glorified. So here this Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield. And what is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita? So Bhagavad Gita mainly deals with 5 subject matters. If you see the whole Bhagavad Gita, it deals with God, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. It deals with the living entities, who are like us all. We are all living entities, living in the material world. We are all parts and parcels of God. And the Bhagavad Gita deals with material nature. Bhagavad Gita deals with time, and Bhagavad Gita also deals with karma. You all must have heard karma, right? You get your karma back when you do something wrong. So those are the subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. So here, in this verse, if you see, we are in chapter 7. We are discussing about the material nature. So, what is this material nature? So if you see, based on this verse, material nature is an energy of God. So, who are we? That also we need to understand. So, Bhagavad Gita teaches about 5 subject matters. The first is God, and we just understood what is God means. God means the Supreme Personality of Godhead who possesses the 6 opulences. Then who are we then? We are the parts and parcels of God. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamshu Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashasthani Indriyani Prakridisthani Karshati. So Mamai Vamshu Jiva Loke. Krishna says, all these living entities, they are my parts and parcels. And they by nature are eternal. Eternal and Manashasthani Indriyani Prakridisthani Karshati. But they are all in this material world. And they are struggling for existence. How? By the 5 senses, along with the mind. So that's the 6th sense. So we, as living entities, we are eternal by nature. And we see, okay, if we are eternal by nature, why do we see death in this world? We are all, if we are immortal, we are eternal. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that we are eternal. So that means that what we see as death is not our actual identity. So right now in our conditioned state, we are identifying ourselves with this body, but we are not this body. Even by our simple languages, we can understand that we say, this is my hand, or we say, this is my head, and we say, this is my legs, and this is my stomach. But whom does this I refer to? We say, this is my body, but who are you then? So that even in our language we can understand that we are trying to differentiate ourselves from what we possess or what we identify as ourselves. So when we refer to as my body, we have a separate identity. So our actual identity is that we are spirit souls. We are not this body. And we are parts and parcels of Krishna. That is what it means by being spiritual. Spiritual means there is spirit. Where there is the knowledge of spirit is called spiritual. So without spirit there is no spirituality. So if we want to begin spirituality, we need to realize the spirit. And we are the spirit. In the sense we are spiritual. We are the parts and parcels of God. So we are at the present moment, we are conditioned in this material world, by our association with this material nature. And what is our association? How we are associated with this material nature is beginning with this body. This body is the product of material nature. So material nature consists of 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. So the 5 gross elements are earth, water, fire, air and ether. And the 3 subtle elements are mind, intelligence and false ego. So by this material, if we see how we are connected to this material nature is through these 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. But where are they present? So we say earth, water, fire, air and ether, and mind, intelligence and false ego. So how does it relate to us? So if we see our bodies are made up of these 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. So we see in our body, there is blood flowing, and they say that 70% or 90% of our body consists of water, right? So there is water in our body, and there is fire, which is responsible for digestion, and there's air. Without air we can't sustain. And there's earth, in the sense our bodies are made up of earth. So when we leave our bodies, when we burn it, where does it go? It goes back into the earth, right? So our bodies are made up of earth. And there is ether, there is some vacancy within our bodies. So grossly our bodies are made up of these 5 elements, and subtly there are some influences, which are called mind, intelligence and falsity. But these are the subtle elements which are not grossly visible. But everyone knows that we all have a mind, and everyone knows we all have intelligence. And similarly, we all identify ourselves with something. There is a sense of identity. We identify ourselves with something, and that we call it as ego. So either we call it as, I call myself as a man, call myself as a student or a professional. This is like an identification. So that's called ego. So these are all subtle elements which we can't see, but we are made of these subtle elements. So in this way, we are entrapped in this material world, under the material. We are spiritual, but we are entrapped in this material body. So that's how we are in contact with this material world. But as I said, we are all by nature eternal, in the sense we don't die, but the body dies. So what we do is we transmigrate from one body to another body. So at the time of death, what happens is we leave this body, which is old and torn, which is no longer useful for our maintenance, and we accept another body, which is fresh and which we can use, just like we have our clothes. When the clothes are good, we can wear them, but when the clothes are torn and dirty, what we do is we give up those clothes and we take on new clothes, right? So that we can use them. Similarly, body is also like that. It's like a covering to our actual self. Our actual self is the soul. So as long as the body is useful, we sustain in certain body, we develop relations, and we build communities, societies, nations, nationalities. But as soon as the body becomes worn or teared or torn, we give up this body and we accept another body. And this phenomenon of accepting another bodies is not something new. We have already done it within while we are present itself. Just imagine ourselves, when we were a kid, we all had a different body. The body was very small, we were even unable to walk properly. But as we grew up, our body is quite different than what we had before. In the sense, we've already given up one body and we have accepted another body. But the change is so quick that we don't even recognize. If we just compare ourselves, our present body and our body 10 years back, maybe, it's quite different. And if we compare our body from what it will be 10 to 15 years after, it will be different. So even within the same life, we are experiencing the transmigration of bodies. We have already seen different bodies. Similarly, what we call death is nothing but it's just a transmigration and acceptance of another body, which is quite fresh, which can be used. So this repetition of giving up one body and accepting another body, giving up one body and accepting another body is called samsara. So to get out of this samsara is called liberation or mukti. So what is mukti means? To stop this cycle of taking one body, giving up one body, taking up one body, giving up one body, but accepting that body by which we never have to give it away. That body which is eternal by nature. That is called liberation. And so we are living entities, and with this body we are functioning in this material world. And how we are functioning with our six senses, and which includes the mind. Okay, so now let's come to this verse. Here Krishna says, this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So the question comes, what is this material energy, and why is it very difficult to overcome, and why should we overcome? So as I said before, liberation means to get out of the cycle of birth and death. So this energy of Krishna, which is the material energy, or here it is described as divine energy. This energy is responsible. She is like that. The personality of this energy is called Durga. So it is her duty to make sure that the living entities are purified in this material world. So right now we are in this material world, which is like her. It's like her palace, or it's like her home. So here, why are we here in this material world? Because we have a tendency to enjoy independent to God. We all want to enjoy. It is the nature of a living entity to enjoy. Without enjoyment, we cannot live. We all are after some sort of enjoyment. Some are probably here for some enjoyment. We can't let everyone go without taking prasadam, because that's another enjoyment. So we all have this tendency to enjoy, but when there was a desire to enjoy independent to God, then this place has been arranged for us, so that there is a facility for us to enjoy independent to God. But we are spiritual by nature. We are all dependent on God. We are not independent. But as soon as there is some sort of independence, there is suffering. So here we are in this material world. So because we wanted to enjoy independently of God, so this facility has been arranged for us. But in our conquest for enjoyment, we are all suffering more. We all have got tendency to enjoy, but our capacity to enjoy is limited. Let's take an example. Let's say we like drinking Coca-Cola. So I can drink one glass of Coca-Cola. And I am a big fan of Coca-Cola. So I drink 2 glasses, I drink 3 glasses. But can I drink 5 glasses? Can I drink 10 glasses? Can I drink 15 glasses? No, we can't, because there's a limit to our enjoyment. Beyond certain limit, we can't enjoy. So, but in the spiritual world, there is no such limit. There the capacity to enjoy is unlimited, because our bodies are also by nature full of happiness. So here we are in this material world, and when we try to endeavor to get out of this material world, this energy of Krishna, she tests us to check, are we really serious to get out of this material world? Because we came to this material world with our desire and purposefully to enjoy independently of Krishna. So now we are realizing that we have committed a mistake, and now we are making an endeavor to get out of it. So when we are putting this endeavor, it is her duty to make sure that, are we really serious? So in order to enjoy this material world independent of Krishna, we need to forget Krishna. So she makes sure that we forget Krishna so that we enjoy this material world. And when we realize that we cannot enjoy to our fullest capacity, and when we try to endeavor to get out of this material world, she tries to pull us down, just to check, are you really serious that you want to get out of this material world? But if we really show that we are serious, then she facilitates our endeavors and she takes us back to Godhead, back to the place where Krishna says. So that's why here they said, that the material nature is very difficult to overcome. In the sense, when we are trying to make an attempt, to stop this cycle of birth and death, in that endeavor, this energy of Krishna, she tests us, Therefore, it's very difficult. And she consists of these three modes of material nature. How, we are all living entities, we are all bound by the three modes of material nature. The three modes are mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So sometimes we are in a mode of goodness, sometimes we are in a mode of passion, sometimes we are in a mode of ignorance. And in this way, she keeps us conditioned in this material world. And so these ropes are very difficult, to break. It's like puppets, Maya is like the puppet master, and we are like the puppets. And the ropes which control the puppets are like these three modes: the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And she makes us dance according to these three modes. So, if we want to get liberated from her clutches, then we need to take shelter of Krishna. We need to break these ropes. So, the most significant role here is played by the spiritual master, who helps us to break these ropes. Just like here in this verse, in this purport, it is said that if we are bound by a rope, we cannot free ourselves up. We are bound by these ropes of mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So when we are bound, just imagine if my hands are tied, I cannot untie my hands because I am tied. But it is only possible for a person who is not tied to untie. So similarly, spiritual master is like the person, or guru we call, is the person who is not tied, and a person who is not tied can help us untie our ropes. So it's very important in our spiritual life to take guidance from a spiritual master. So this spiritual master helps us to overcome this divine energy of Krishna, which keeps us in this material world. And when we surrender to Krishna, then we can go back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world, where we need not come back again to this material world, the world which is full of miseries. So here in this, so how do we, surrender to Krishna or surrender to a spiritual master? So in this age, the most sublime process for surrendering unto Krishna is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So here, this age is an age of quarrel and hypocrisy. People are always fighting with each other, and there is always hypocrisy. And people by nature are very much disturbed. They're always quarrelsome, they're lazy, and they're unintelligent and unlucky also. So in this age where almost everyone is very unfortunate, unintelligent, and so on, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, there is no other means of deliverance other than the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And this has been proved or assured in all the Vedic scriptures. So the way we can overcome this material nature and go back home, back to Godhead, spiritual world, is by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's the means of surrendering unto Krishna. So I'll stop here and I'll probably take a few questions or comments or reflections if there are any. Otherwise, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
All right. Thank you very much for a very enlightening class. Earlier on you were talking about transmigration.
Yes.
So someone might think, they might consider that transmigration is the general course of things here. So why not just follow that process? Because maybe in my next life I can be somebody rich and famous like Lionel Messi or Taylor Swift or something like that.
Yeah.
So they may think that it's beneficial to carry on transmigrating so that you might get, finally you might get some material pleasure, like you can see some people do in our societies.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very appealing or it's very alluring to to desire for another birth or continue this transmigration. If you are guaranteed that we get a good birth, But what if you don't get a good birth? We might have to, if someone can become messy or someone, obviously someone would like to get a better birth, but one thing we need to understand is everyone in this world is suffering. So no matter it's messy or or a poor man, everyone has their own degree of enjoyment and suffering. The life is neither full of happiness or full of suffering. We get a mixture of both, whether you're the richest person or you're the poor person. And why don't we continue this cycle of transmigration? Well, the main reason why we are transmigrating from one body to another body is because we are searching for enjoyment. There are 8,400,000 species of living entities according to the Vedic literatures. Like there are 900,000 species of aquatics. There are 2 million species of trees and birds. There are 400,000 human beings. Like that, there are 8,400,000 species of human life. Not human life, but living entities, species of life. And we are transmigrating from one body to another, searching for enjoyment. We are thinking that, I can get enjoyment in this body or in this body. The reason why we transmigrate to another body is because we did not get the enjoyment which we expected in the previous body. So we think that, okay, let me take another body. So in that way, we have been going around this cycle, but we were never satisfied. And we have been going around this cycle from time immemorial. So, why don't I continue in the same cycle? Well, it depends upon the individual. If he wants to continue his suffering in this material world, he can transmigrate. But a sane person should understand that I've got enough of it. I've been in this material world for so long and I've suffered enough. So let me at least make an attempt, to break this cycle of repeated birth and death, and obtain to the realm where I need not, be stuck in this cycle. So that requires some intelligence. And we also see in Bhagavad Gita itself that Bhagavad Gita also guarantees that one who performs devotional service, it is said that Krishna says that their next birth will be in a very higher family, where they'll take birth in devotee, not guarantee a devotee's family, but birth in a rich family or in a learned person's family, like that. But there is no guarantee of devotional service, in those births. We can take a birth where we can become very rich or very learned, but there is no guarantee that we'll become a devotee. And only a devotee is peaceful in this material world, and only a devotee is actually happy. The happiness of this material world is flickering. There is happiness. It's like an itch. When we have got an itch on our body, when we itch it, it gives some pleasure, and when it gives some pleasure, we feel like itching more. We itch more. It gives more pleasure. We feel like itching more, and at some point, blood comes out of our skin. So that what we consider as our enjoyment became our suffering. So this enjoyment in this material world is illusory. It finally terminates in suffering. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Also, I just wanted, you were talking about devotees, if perhaps perform devotional service in their next life. They'll be born into a rich family or into a family of Vaishnavas or saintly persons. But what about ordinary people who are in the human society? Are they guaranteed a human birth next birth?
Well, that depends on their karma. In the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakriti jangunan karanam guna sambhasya sadasa janma yogis. It is by our association, the way we associate with the three modes of material nature, as we have discussed in this lecture, that there are three modes of material nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. So depending on how we associate and how we live our lives based on these three modes of material nature, how we associate with this material nature and how we act, based on our activities, our next birth is determined. So in this birth, let's suppose if I act based on the mode of ignorance and sleep a lot, then the material nature arranges a body which facilitates that nature, in the sense, okay, if you're associating with the mode of ignorance, so let me give you a body which is in a mode of ignorance and which satisfies your desire of sleeping more, and you get bodies like bears or polar bears which hibernate for 6 months, So our next body is dependent upon the consciousness we carry, and our consciousness depends upon the modes of material nature we associate with. So when we associate with higher modes, our consciousness is higher and we get higher bodies, and when we associate with lower modes, our consciousness is quite down, quite low, and we get lower bodies, our most abominable bodies. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as well, those in the mode of goodness, they go to the higher planetary system, they get higher bodies. Those in the mode of passion, they remain in these earthly planets and they get human-like bodies. And those in a mode of ignorance, they go into the lower species of life or even the lower planetary systems where it's very miserable. Life is very miserable. So based on our association with the modes of material nature, we get different bodies. So that's an answer to your question. Thank you. Yes, Mother.
Can you please explain why renunciation is considered to be an opulence of God?
Yeah, even in this material world we see, people become famous, Let's consider the politicians, The politicians, they are very famous, and they say that I'm giving up all my wealth, then people naturally become attracted. Oh, very great person, He's giving up everything. So, that attracts people's attention. So, just like, certain people are more renounced and they are famous, people glorify them for being renounced. But even so, in that case, similarly, no one possesses everything, but Krishna possesses everything. But even though Krishna possesses everything, he says that, I am not attached to anything. So Krishna is completely renounced. So that also attracts in the sense that although a person possesses everything, but still he says that, he doesn't claim proprietorship, although he is the proprietor of everything. So that's, in one way, it's very amazing, So just like, Krishna, he need not be bound by Mother Yashoda, but he agrees to be bound by her love and affection. It's like he renounced, he's the proprietor of the whole world, but still, it's like he has agreed to be bound by his devotees. So that's a kind of renouncement. Is that okay? Yeah.
Let me just add something. I think people revere personalities who aren't controlled by the senses, that they don't enjoy just like everybody else does. So if somebody can see that those people are free from that kind of those desires, they're worshipped, they're put up, on high because of their developed consciousness.
Another example may be like Krishna is known for Ransodas, right? He leave the Mathura and he just start started living in,
Dwarka.
Dwarka, right? So he leave that land because of Chadha, right? He was like creating problem with all the public there. So that is he left his own ego because he wanted to leave everything for devotee, not for like people who are there for. So that is also one of the examples.
One example I can give is actually from Mahabharata, is Karna actually. Yeah. Karna, his worship in India actually is worshipped as a great personality. Although we know that Karna took the side of Kauravas, but Karna is worshipped in, people become offended, if we criticize Karna. Yeah. But Karna became famous, well known because of his nature of renouncement. Karna is well known for doing his charity. So although he is not glorified as one of the Pandavas or sons of Kunti, but he is known for his charities and renunciation. So Karna is very famous in that regard.
So it's something like like detachment actually.
Yeah, detachment.
Renunciation like equals detachment. And then we want to say that God, although He is possessor of everything, He is not controlled or attached to anything. He's totally above.
Yeah.
So this is His.
Yeah. He's not bothered about it. And just as we see in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna describes all the different opulences, and he says, "What more should I describe? This is just a spark of my splendor." He has so much opulence. Even to come to this material world is something abominable for God. It's like, this is like the most abominable place. But still, God comes here. So that's another example of his nature of renouncement. That he leaves the spiritual world, which is full of happiness, where every step is a dance, and he's coming to this miserable world to bring up the jivas out of this material world. So that's like, that is another renunciation of God.
Is He writing His renunciation or detachment only in one particular sense when it comes to the love of His devotees? Then He is allowing to be attached.
Yeah. I mean, in the sense like God is not controlled by anything else except by the devotion of His devotees. So that's why pure devotion service is rarely attained. So Krishna can give or award anything, material riches or things like that, but He won't award devotion service so easily. He does award, but not very easily, because devotion service is the means by which one can even control God. On Balaram Purnima we had Gaur Sundar Prabhu. He was giving lecture on Balaram, in the sense he was going through, Balaram is one who possesses strength, right? So he was going through different strengths, the strength of politician, different strengths. And at the end he said, there are 8 different kinds of strengths, and after this strength he said, the most powerful strength, the more powerful than the mystic yogis or the Ashtamis and things like that, is bhakti, because by bhakti one gets the power to even control God. So that's why pure devotion service is rarely attained. Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Or yeah, please.
Just in sort of relation to that last point there, do you know why perhaps it's so difficult for so many, maybe perhaps especially Caucasian people born in this country, to see yoga as anything else but hatha yoga, and perhaps a bit of pranayama and perhaps a bit of meditation as they see it? Like, I find it very difficult to try and explain myself to people with similar background to me about bhakti yoga, and why is there such a mental block perhaps or something?
I won't say that this is just limited to this country, but it's everywhere. It's the same. Nowadays the definition of yoga means is some kind of physical exercise, or things like that. But actual definition of the word yoga means linking ourselves with the Supreme. So that's the actual definition of yoga. And because what happens is, as the time passes, the knowledge becomes lost. Just like even this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, was first spoken to sun god some millions and billions of years ago. But what happens is, as the time passes on, the knowledge becomes diluted, or at one point it becomes even lost. Bhagavad Gita got almost lost. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this knowledge which has become lost, I am again, reintroducing it through, Arjuna as an instrument, so that, we get this knowledge again. So similarly, the word yoga is a spiritual word, which is linked to spirituality. But as the time passed on, the knowledge got diluted, and now everyone understands yoga as a means of physical exercises, things like that. But they lost the spiritual aspect of it. And probably, who knows, in the future they might even, lose this aspect of physical exercise even. I mean, nowadays there's a good hype in a sense. Everyone is more health conscious than before. But these waves keep going up and down, so there will again be a time where people will forget to exercise or yoga. So yeah, that's my answer to you. That's the answer?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments or reflections? Okay, in that case, I'll just end my lecture here. Thank you very much, and Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki